Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 21st May 2024. Today, we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and The Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your exam. The first topic is an important topic of your polity, which is very important for your both prelims and mains exam. The topic is judicial review. Then we will try to learn about a framework named Environmental Social Governance Framework, or we can say ESG framework. Then our next topic will be Antarctic Treaty, which has been in news due to the recent meeting of Antarctic Consultative Meeting. Then our next topic, we will try to learn about a malarial vaccine named R21 or Matrix M vaccine. Then we will look into our next topic, that is basics of parliamentary security services. Then at the end, we will learn about some prelims snippets which will help you in excelling upcoming prelims exam. So stay tuned. So our first topic is judicial review. The context of this particular topic is that recently a write-up has appeared in the Hindu newspaper which has emphasized on the need of a strong judicial review mechanism in Indian democracy. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC prelims, Indian polity, and syllabus of your GS2, Indian constitution and judiciary. So let's first try to understand the background of this particular topic, that is judicial review. This particular doctrine of judicial review originated from United States of America. This was first propounded in a famous case named Marbury versus Madison case of 1803, where Sir John Marshall was the Chief Justice of American Supreme Court, and he propounded this particular doctrine of judicial review. So what does it mean by judicial review or doctrine of judicial review? It is a power of judiciary to examine the constitutionality of the legislative enactments or executive orders at the central and state levels. For example, there was a law that was passed by the parliament. So government can check whether this particular law which has been passed by the parliament is in sync with the rest of the constitutional provisions or not. Is it violative of any of the part of the constitution? If the answer is yes, that this particular law or the executive action or administrative action is violative of the constitution, then that particular law or the action of either the center or the state government will be illegal, unconstitutional, or that will be declared null and void. So this particular judicial review can be categorized into three categories where this particular judicial review can be exercised. The first is with regard to the constitutional amendment, where this particular judicial review can be exercised. For example, there was 99th Constitutional Amendment Act which called for setting up of NJAC. That is National Judicial Appointment Commission, which will be recommending the names of the appointment in the judiciary, in the Supreme Court and in the High Courts also. So what Supreme Court did, they said this particular amendment or this particular commission is violative of the constitution. It is against the independence of the judicial functions. So they declared it null and void. So this particular NJAC was abolished, and now the collegium system, which was in practice from the earlier time, is recommending the names of the appointment for the various judges in different courts of India. Now, apart from the constitutional amendment, this judicial review can also be exercised for the legislation of the parliament and state legislatures, and also the subordinate legislations. Okay, so first of all, let's take an example. For example, there was Aadhaar Act, okay, the constitutionality of which came into in front of judiciary. There, some of the part of this Aadhaar Act, they declared that null and void. So legislative enactment of central government can be come in front of judiciary, where they can exercise the judicial review of that particular legislative action. Apart from this, for example, if there is an amendment, okay, or if there is any law, so that particular law does not have every detail about that particular law. So here they may give some powers to the subordinate executives, that they will be giving the minute details or the details about that particular law, how that will be implemented, who will be the authority, whom that should be reported, everything. So that all the legislations that comes into the picture after the law being passed by the parliament is called as the subordinate legislation. So this particular power of judicial review can also be exercised for the subordinate legislations. Then there is administrative actions of the union and states and authorities under the state. For example, there is some action that this particular house of a person A was bulldozed by any of the state government, that they have not followed the norms of building this particular house. Then this particular administrative action of the state government can be judicially reviewed by the judiciary. So judicial review power is for the constitutional amendment, legislative enactments of the both center and state governments, and also for the administrative actions of both the center and the state governments. So let's now try to understand what are the constitutional provisions for the judicial review that are given in our constitution. First of all, in whole constitution, word judicial review has nowhere been mentioned in the Indian constitution. UPSC have also asked one question related to this particular topic that we will be discussing at the later stage of this particular discussion. So first article that we will be looking is the article 13, which says that laws that are inconsistent with or in derogation of fundamental rights shall be null and void. Any law which is being made by the either center or state governments which violates the fundamental rights will be null and void. So this particular article also provides the power of judicial review to the judiciary. Then article 32, which is the guarantor of the fundamental rights, that if a person A is not being provided various fundamental rights provided from article 14 to subsequent articles, then he can directly approach the Supreme Court that this particular my fundamental right is being violated, this particular my fundamental right is not being given by the center or the state governments. Here they can judicially review, the judiciary can judicially review that particular decision about why the fundamental right of that person is not being given. So article 32, which guarantees the right to move to the Supreme Court for the enforcement of fundamental rights, is also one of the constitutional provisions from where we can say that inspiration of the judicial review is coming from the constitution. Then next particular article is article 131, which forms the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court. What does it mean? That if rights of one of the states is being violated by the center, or if there is some issue between one state and other state, then that particular state can approach the Supreme Court. So the issues between center and one or other state, or issues between two different states, form the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So here also we can say the inspirations of the judicial review powers are coming from this particular article 131. Then other articles like article 132, which provides for the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in the constitutional matters. Then article 133, which provides for the appellate jurisdiction in the civil cases. For example, you have a piece of land of 10 acres. Okay. Now there was one brother named A and second brother named B. So they were both having litigation about this particular piece of land. Now High Court gave some judgment. Okay. Now High Court also gave the certificate for the appeal under article 134A. Now this particular person A or B can approach to the Supreme Court under the article 133, which provides for the appellate jurisdiction in the civil cases. So in a matter of civil case also, the powers of the judicial review can be exercised by the Supreme Court. Then article 134, which provides for the appellate jurisdiction of Supreme Court in the criminal matters. Okay. For example, if someone has been provided the capital punishment, or his he was acquitted by the lower courts, and he is subsequently provided the capital punishment by the High Court. So he can approach the Supreme Court, and there the Supreme Court will be exercising the power of judicial review, where they will be reviewing the judgments of the lower courts. So these were some of the constitutional provisions from which we can say that judicial review powers are drawn by the judiciary. So now let's try to understand the evolution of judicial review. After the commencement of constitution, the first Constitution Amendment Act came in year 1951 in month of June. It has amended various articles of the constitution like article 15, 19, etc. Then it has also inserted the 9th schedule of the constitution, where they have also added article 31A, 31B, etc. So the constitutionality of this particular amendment came in front of the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court in this particular Sankri Prasad versus Union of India case 1951 said that there is no limitation on the amending power of the parliament, and this was the first incident where the power of judicial review of the Supreme Court was established in India. Second is that in Golaknath versus State of Punjab case 1967, Parliament said that Parliament did not have power to amend the fundamental rights, and after that 24th Constitutional Amendment came, which overturned this particular judgment of Golaknath versus State of Punjab case. Then in Keshwanand Bharti versus State of Kerala 1973 case, which is a landmark case, the doctrine of basic structure was established, which says there is limitation on the amending power of the parliament. What is that limitation? That it should not be violative of the basic structure of the constitution. Any amendment whatsoever is coming, whatsoever is being made by the parliament should not violate the basic structure of the constitution. Okay. In Minerva Mills 1980 case, Supreme Court says that the judicial review is the power of judicial review is part of the this particular basic structure, and that should not be altered, that should not be curtailed. Similarly, in Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India case 1978, it says that the right to travel abroad is part of Article 21. That is a fundamental right of the right to life and liberty. Then it also expanded the scope of Article 21, that is right to life and liberty, and protected it from the arbitrary restrictions by the governments. So this is also one of the case that we can say where this power of judicial review was exercised and further amplified. Then in Visakha versus State of Rajasthan 1997 case, which was majorly related to the sexual harassment at the workplace, and the Supreme Court says that this is violation of the fundamental rights of the woman, and they provided some guidelines for the employer to prevent the sexual harassment cases of the women at the workplace. Then this particular POSH Act also came after this the subsequent judgment. So in this way we can see the evolution of this judicial review or the doctrine of judicial review. Now, what is importance of this particular judicial review? First is it will help in maintaining the supremacy of the constitution. In a democratic country like India, constitution is the law of land and it is the supreme authority in India. So this particular Supreme Court is the guarantor of the fundamental rights, and they also have this particular duty that they ensure that the constitutional authority, the constitutional provisions are not being misused. So this particular judicial review ensures that constitutional provisions are not being misused or not being violated. This ensures the supremacy of the constitution. Then this particular judicial review also help in checking the possible misuse of power by the legislature and the executive. Okay. For example, if there is a particular subject in the state list, okay, let's suppose this is police. This particular subject is in that state list. Now deliberately central government want to make a law or do a legislation on this particular subject police, which is a subject in the state list. So Supreme Court will ensure that this should not be done because this is violation of the Constitution. The 7th schedule of the Constitution has provided for the state list, and all this center and the state have different domains or the different subjects of the legislation. So they should not be infringing on each other's subjects. So this is the duty of the Supreme Court to ensure this particular thing, because if this is being done, this is violation of the Constitution, and Supreme Court will not leave this particular thing to be done, that there is a violation of the Constitution. Next is judicial review also helps in protecting the rights of the people. For example, either it is fundamental rights or the legal rights or it is the constitutional right. All are being protected when this power of judicial review is with the judiciary. Let's take a very basic example. The elections are ongoing in our country. So let's suppose this is a particular person named Vikas. He went to his hometown to cast his vote. Now the administration has denied that people that he will not be able to cast his vote, and they didn't gave him any particular reason. Now this particular person can approach the courts or the judiciary that he has been prevented from exercising his particular right to vote. So yes, the judicial review is very significant in ensuring the rights of the people are protected. Then it also helps in maintaining the federal balance. Okay, there has been several instances where the precedent rule has been imposed in various states without due justification, without giving any proper justification. So at that particular instance, Supreme Court came and they have overturned this particular decision of President's rule imposition, and they have allowed that particular state government to run smoothly. So yes, this particular federal balance is also being ensured by this judicial review power of the Supreme Court. Then it is also essential for securing the independence of the judiciary, which we have just seen about when the judiciary have abolished this NJAC, and that came after the 99th constitutional amendment. Then it also prevents the tyranny of the executive, whether it is permanent executives like civil servants, IS, IPS, or the temporary executives. This tyranny of executives is also prevented by this judicial review. Then let's also see the relation between judicial review and 9th schedule. As we have just discussed, after the first Constitutional Amendment Act, this 9th schedule was inserted in our constitution, which has provided for the Article 31B along with the 9th schedule was added through this particular amendment. Now Article 31B protects the acts and regulation included in the 9th schedule, and majorly they were the laws related to the land reforms. So this 9th schedule provided immunity from the judicial review. Okay, whatever the laws are inserted in this particular 9th schedule, that are prevented from the judicial review. So but Supreme Court in subsequent case said that laws that are being inserted in the 9th schedule, they are not completely immune from the judicial review, they are not absolute. Supreme Court said that if they will violate the constitution, that particular law which has been inserted in the 9th schedule, that can be also declared null and void by the court. So what does it mean? That even at today, whatever the laws that are being inserted in the 9th schedule, that can be called null and void, unconstitutional by the Supreme Court if they are violating the basic structure of the constitution. In IR Coelho versus State of Tamil Nadu case 2007, the Supreme Court says that law included in the 9th schedule is found to violate the basic structure of the constitution, it can still be struck down by the courts. The same thing that I have said you. Now this particular question have came in your UPSC prelims, which says the 9th schedule was introduced in the Constitution of India during the Prime Ministership of, so they have given you 4 options, and option A, Jawaharlal Nehru, was the correct answer here. Now moving towards some other questions that we will be discussing from this particular topic. The first is the Constitution of India defines its basic structure in terms of federalism, secularism, fundamental rights and democracy. So this is a incorrect option, as the Constitution of India does not define its basic structure. Then the second option, the Constitution of India provides for the judicial review to safeguard the citizens' liberties and to preserve the ideals on which the constitution is based. Now, there was a lot of controversy regarding this particular question. Earlier, people were keeping this particular option 2 as correct, but when the official answer key came, the correct answer was D, neither 1 and nor 2. Why? Because this particular word judicial review has been kept in the bracket. So what the particular UPSC examiner want to test, that the Constitution of India provides for the judicial review. What they wanted to see, that if the word judicial review is mentioned in the constitution or not. We have seen it very clearly that judicial review has nowhere been defined or mentioned in the constitution. So that's why this particular option second was also incorrect, because the word judicial review is neither mentioned nor defined in our constitution. So in this particular question, option D was correct. Now the second question, this was asked in year 2019. The question is, 44th Amendment to the Constitution of India introduced an article placing the election of Prime Minister beyond judicial review. This particular statement was incorrect. It was 39th Amendment, Constitutional Amendment number 39. Then the second statement says the Supreme Court of India struck down 99th Amendment to the Constitution of India as being violative of independence of judiciary. This we have discussed very properly in the initial discussion of our this session. So this particular option statement 2 was correct. So option B 2 only was correct here. Now moving towards our second topic, that is environmental, social and governance framework. The context of this particular topic is that a write-up that has appeared in today's The Indian Express newspaper that is advocating for taking hard decision for implementation of this ESG or environmental social governance framework. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS2 government policies and interventions and syllabus of your GS3 growth and development, conservation, environmental pollution and degradation. So what is this ESG framework? Let's try to understand some basics. This particular framework provides a holistic view that sustainability extends beyond just environmental issues. Okay. So for example, under the environmental issues, we cover the climate change strategy, biodiversity, water efficiency, energy efficiency, carbon intensity, environmental management system. Okay, let's suppose this is particular company named ABC Limited. Okay, then under this ESG framework, what we will be looking, or what the regulators will be looking, is that if particular this ABC Limited is following this environmental framework parameters or not, whether they are using the water efficiently or not, whether they are polluting the environment, whether they are leading to the deforestation, whether they are leading to the high carbon emissions, whether they are giving the products that is unsustainable for the environment. So these are the environmental parameters that will be looked by particular regulators about this particular ABC Limited under this environmental parameters of this particular ESG framework. Then there will be some social parameters, like whether they are providing equal opportunities for the workers or not, whether there is any kind of reservation system, there is a kind of system where merit is not being given for the workers. Then the freedom of association, whether they can form associations or not. Then health and safety of the workers, human rights, customer and product responsibility. Then the child labor, whether that particular ABC Limited is has employed some child persons, whether then this particular parameter will also be checked under this ESG framework. Second is that whatever the product they are being that are being sold by this ABC Limited, whether that particular product is viable for this consumer or not, whether it is threatening the health safety of that particular consumers or not. All this will be checked under this social parameters. Then third is the governance related parameters under this ESG framework, which will be looking into the business ethics, the compliance of all the rules, laws of the country. For example, tax related laws, whether they are leading to tax evasion, where they are deliberately avoiding the tax. Then the board independence, executive compensation, stakeholder democracy, and whether they are following bribery and corruption, whether they have colluded with some government officials to get some favors for better functioning of this company, that is ABC Limited. So these are the some parameters under the environment, social and governance related framework, where that particular company will be judged according to these parameters, whether they are ESG framework following or not. So the objective of this particular ESG framework is to ensure that businesses are conducted in a more responsible manner. They are responsible to the environment, they are responsible to the society, they are responsible to the government. This particular objective of this ESG framework, to ensure they are following all the norms of environment, society and the government at place. So what is the significance of this ESG regulation? First of all, it will lead to proper and standard reporting by different companies. Okay. For example, this is a BRSR, that is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting Framework, that was framed by the SEBI in year 2021, that has came, and that lead to a proper standard reporting by different companies. Under this BRSR framework, this particular framework is applicable to top 1000 listed companies, and this is on voluntary basis for financial year 2022, and it is mandatory for financial year 2022-23 and afterwards. This particular information related to this particular BRSR framework, they have to upload this data along with the data and the annual report that they will be uploading on the MCA 21 portal. About this MCA 21 portal, this is a Ministry of Corporate Affairs portal where all the companies in India have to mandatorily upload annual reports, their financial data, tax related data on that particular portal. So this particular 1000 listed companies have to upload their BRSR data also on the MCA 121 portal. And the next significance of these regulations are, they focus on the sustainability, means they incentivize companies to adopt to these ESG framework practices. For example, CRISIL, which is a credit rating agency, suggests that ESG compliant companies in India outperform their non-ESG counterparts by at least 3 to 4 percentage points. Okay, let's suppose this is a company A. When the advertisement of this particular company is coming, that whatever the product they are making, let's suppose they are making product B, this is extracted from the natural ingredients, and whenever you are buying this particular product, they will be planting one plant as you have brought this particular product. So this might lead to an increased sales of this particular company, and they can outperform the companies which are non-ESG compliant companies. Similarly, it will also lead to reduced risk for the investors who are investing in these companies. Okay, for example, there are some investors who are investing in this particular ABC Limited company. Now, this particular ABC Limited company is not following the environmental norms. They are not following the labor related laws, etc. So tomorrow there may be a penalty that may be imposed on this particular company. Okay, there might be some restrictions that may be imposed by the government on this particular company. So the money that has been invested by these particular investors may get stuck in that particular company. So if a company is ESG compliant, that will lead to a safe investment by different investors. It will also lead to reduced investment by the company if that particular company is not ESG compliant. But if particular company is ESG compliant, it will attract the investment, because investors will feel safe, because they will think that this particular company is following ESG norms and my money will be safe whenever I will be investing in this particular company. For example, with this Global Sustainable Investment Alliance says that the sustainable investment that flows into India rose from $20.6 billion in 2018 to $71.5 billion in 2022. And why this happened? Because of this mandatory regulation of a BRSR framework by the SEBI. So this was one of the reasons why this investment increased in different companies which are ESG compliant. Now let's try to understand what are the issues with the ESG regulation. First is there is lack of proper standardization and inconsistent ratings are there. Okay, so for example, there are different companies in different states of the India. So there might be a scenario where the different ratings are being provided for different states. So there is no proper standard at place. So that leads to issues in the regulations of the ESG. Then the focus on single materiality and risk management, okay, where the particular company mitigate the financial risk rather than those with the positive social and environmental impact. What this means is that, for example, this is particular company ABC Limited, their main focus is to ensure that they remain profitable. They want to just gain investment, okay, and for that they may unfollow some norms, that is environmental norms or social norms or the government related norms. So most of the financial companies are focused more on the profitability and the investment, and that may lead to a bad social and environmental impact. Apart from this, there might be a case where this particular company is greenwashing the thing, means they are showing that they are following the environmental norms, they are following the social norms, but in actual sense they are not following these norms. So that also leads to issue with the ESG regulations. Then the complex data gathering and analysis, these are most of these parameters are very subjective in nature. Okay, so for example, whether that particular company is following labor laws or not. So this particular regulator may have to visit this particular company where they will be surveying, they will be asking questions with the different labors. Okay, so there are chances that all the labors will not be giving the correct information. So it might be very difficult to get proper data, correct data from different countries to check whether they are following these ESG regulations or not. Then this may also affect the small companies who might find very difficult to comply with these ESG regulations. So what should be the way forward? First of all, there is need for a proper standard metrics and ratings for the whole country. Throughout the country, there should be a common rating, there should be a common standard regulation framework related to the ESG. Then there is need for more transparency and disclosures, where company by their own self, without being any compulsion, they are disclosing all the information related to all these parameters which are related to the ESG regulation. Then there is also need for stakeholder engagement, whether it is civil society, whether it is NGOs, whether it is central government, state governments. Everyone should come and collaborate together so that a better, inclusive and broad-based ESG regulations can be made in India. Now, our next topic is Antarctic Treaty. The context of this particular topic is that recently 46th Antarctic Treaty consultative meeting commenced in the Kochi on May 20, which will continue till May 30. This will continue for the 10 days. The syllabus to which this particular topic pertains is the GS2 paper, International Treaties and the Agreements. So what is this particular meeting is all about? Here there are deliberations that will go on between the signatory nations to the Antarctic Treaty. And what is their main agenda? Agenda is to collaborate and exchange the information on the plans for the sustainable management of the resources that are located in the Antarctica. Then they will also try to develop a framework for regulating tourism in Antarctica, where a proper sustainable tourism can happen in the Antarctica. Then they will also look into the applications of Belarus and Canada for the consultative status at the deliberation. So these are some of the main agenda for this meeting that will happen in the Kochi from May 20 to May 30, 2024. At present time, there are 56 member nations, of which 29 have the consultative status. Of this, when this particular country is given the consultative status, means they are being given the voting right under this particular treaty. This particular Antarctic Treaty is the single treaty that governs a whole continent. Headquarters of this particular treaty is located into Argentina, Buenos Aires. Now let's see some basics about this Antarctic Treaty. At present, the numbers of countries that are involved are 56, and this is date of 2023. This particular treaty was signed on December 1, 1959, and it entered into force on June 23, 1961. What are the some of the important points of this Antarctic Treaty? First is that all the military activities and weapons testing will be prohibited in the Antarctic region. Then there will be complete freedom on the scientific research. That's why there are several scientific research stations of the India that are located in the Antarctica. Then there will be free exchange of scientific plans among all the treaty nations that are there. Then there cannot be any treaty claim in the Antarctica. Okay, and then there is total ban on the nuclear explosions and the nuclear waste disposals in the Antarctica. All the stations and equipments that are placed in the Antarctica will be open to the inspection by any of the regulators of this particular Antarctic Treaty. Then national law will only apply to the citizens who are going in the Antarctic region, and they will not apply to the areas in the Antarctica. Then parties shall meet periodically to discuss what are the measures that can be used that can lead to a better sustainable use of areas, better in the Antarctica, better sustainable tourism in the Antarctic region. Then parties shall ensure that there is no illegal activities that are carried out in the Antarctica. Then this issue to be settled, whatever the litigation, whatever the issues that will be there related to the regions in the Antarctica will be settled in the International Court of Justice. Then the treaty may be modified by the voting of the members. Then treaty must be legally ratified by any nation who wish to join this particular treaty. Now let's see some basic about the Indian Antarctic program. Okay, this particular program focused on the scientific research and exploration program under the National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research, which is this particular NCPOR, or the National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research, is an autonomous body under Ministry of Earth Sciences. This particular agency is the nodal agency for the planning, promotion and coordination and execution of all the scientific research and the exploration program in the Antarctic regions. So India have established different research stations in the Antarctica. The first was the Dakshin Gangotri, which was the first Indian scientific research base station established in the Antarctica. At present, it is just being used as a supply base. Then second was the Matri, which was a permanent research station in the Antarctic region, and there is also a freshwater lake that is built around the Matri base station, and name of that lake is the Lake Priyadarshini. Then the third is the Bharti station, which is the most latest research station, and this had commenced its operation from the year 2012. And the main aim of this is to help the researchers work in the safety despite the harsh weather that will be there in the Antarctic region. This particular picture you can see, this is of this Bharti research station in the Antarctica. Then there was a mission Sagar Nidhi in 2008 that was commissioned, for which there will be an Indian vessel that will navigate into the Antarctic waters. Now our next topic is R21 or Matrix M1 vaccine, which is a malarial vaccine recently that has got clearance from the WHO, and shipments of this vaccine has been sent to the many African countries. The context of this particular topic is that recently, as I have told you, that Serum Institute of India has commenced the shipments of this particular vaccine to the Africa. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC Prelims, Science and Technology. Let's try to understand some basics of this particular vaccine. So this particular vaccine is created by the Jennifer Institute of Oxford University and developed by the Serum Institute of India. This particular vaccine carries two main ingredients. First is malaria specific R21 antigen. Antigen are that foreign substances that trigger a immune response. Okay, so they are foreign substance. When they will be injected in your body, that will trigger a immune response, so that whenever next time that infection will lead, your body will have that antibodies that can fight that particular infection. Then it will also have that Novavax saponin based Matrix M adjuvant. What does this adjuvant means? This is an ingredient that can increase or enhance this immune response. Okay, means this adjuvant will help in increasing the efficiency of that immune response that will be generated by this antigen. So that will increase the efficiency or increase the rate of that immune response that will be created by that foreign substance. This particular R21 is the second malarial vaccine to be authorized by the WHO for the use in the children's. The first was RTS or S/AS01 vaccine, which is received a WHO recommendation in year 2021 itself. And this particular R21 is the first malarial vaccine to reach WHO target of 75% efficacy. This particular vaccine is easily deployable and cost effective and affordable. That's why this can be afforded by many of the poor nations of the Africa. Now let's also look into some basic facts about malaria. It is a life-threatening disease that is preventable and curable. It is caused by the parasites that are mainly transmitted to the people through the bites of infected female Anopheles mosquitoes. In 2016, there were almost 216 million cases of malaria and almost 4,45,000 fatalities related to the malaria. Since 2010, 6 countries have been certified malaria-free, and they are Armenia, Maldives, Morocco, Kyrgyzstan, Sri Lanka and Turkmenistan. Now this particular question in the prelims in year 2010 that came, let's discuss that particular question, where the main question is that why is it difficult to develop an effective malaria vaccine? The answer of this particular question is that the option B, that man does not develop immunity to the malaria during the natural infection. What happens? This particular parasites, they keep on changing their proteins. So body doesn't recognize that foreign protein when again that particular infection happens. So that's why it was earlier very difficult to develop a vaccine for malaria, but now with the more advancement and more research, the 2 vaccines of the malaria has been developed. So correct answer of this particular question was option B. So our next topic is Parliament Security Services. The context of this particular topic is that recently CISF took over security of the most part of the parliament, which were earlier this security was being provided by this Parliament Security Services. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC prelims, current events of national and international importance. So let's try to first understand the background of this particular topic. The Watch and Ward Staff, which initially came into existence in year 1929 when Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt had dropped bombs on the Central Legislative Assembly, which is currently the old Parliament building of the India. So this Watch and Ward Staff came in year 1929. Okay, after the Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt had dropped bombs on this old Parliament building. Then in year 2008, in the year 2008, the name of this particular Watch and Ward Staff was changed to the PSS or Parliament Security Services. Now, what was their main mandate? The main mandate was to provide proactive, preventive and protective security to all the VIPs and the VVIPs who are visiting the Parliament. This can be MPs, ministers, okay, all the former MPs, etc., or who are people who are visiting the Parliament building. To provide security to them was the main mandate of this PSS or the Parliament Security Services. Apart from this, providing security to the building of Parliament was also one of the main mandate of this PSS. Then they were also responsible for the managing the access, control and regulation of the men and material and vehicles within the Parliament House complex. Okay, for example, if you have seen when the budget are being presented in the Parliament, there are a lot of copies of the budget that comes in the trucks that will be distributed to different members of the Parliament. All those copies of the budget are also thoroughly checked by this personnels of the Parliament Security Services. So whether the persons are going inside the Parliament or some material is going inside the Parliament, all that will be thoroughly checked by the personnels of the PSS. But after this attack on the Parliament in year 2001, there were some changes regarding the functions, regarding the mandates of the PSS. Now again in the month of December in year 2023, few months back, there was a security breach in the new Parliament building itself. And that's when Ministry of Home Affairs has decided that now they will be handing over the security of the parliament to the CISF, or the Central Industrial Security Forces, which is one of the paramilitary force under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now we will be looking into some prelims snippets. The first topic is Humboldt Glacier, which is a glacier located in the Venezuela. So this ICCI means International Cryosphere and Climate Initiative, which came into force in 2009 and which was set up after the COP15 meeting that has happened in Copenhagen. And the aim of this ICCI is cryosphere preservation. Cryosphere means the area which is covered by the ice. So mainly the areas which are covered by the ice, the preservation of that is mainly dealt by this ICCI, or the International Cryosphere and Climate Initiative. So this particular ICCI said that Venezuela's last glacier, Humboldt or La Corona, that is situated in the Andes mountain, has become too small to be qualified as glacier. If you will see in this particular picture, in the year 1988, the size of this Humboldt glacier was this, and now in the year 2015, the size has diminished to a large extent. And at the present time, this ICCI has said that the size of this glacier has diminished to less than 2 hectares, and now they will be downgraded from being qualified as a glacier to an ice field. And Venezuela has become first country in the world that has lost all glaciers that were situated earlier in this particular country. And this particular Humboldt glacier is one of the major glacier that is situated in the northern Greenland, and it has widest tidewater glacier. It is the widest tidewater glacier that is located in the northern hemisphere. So these were some basic information about this Humboldt glacier. It is situated in the Venezuela. Venezuela is the first country which has lost all its glaciers, and some basic information about the ICCI. Now we will be moving towards our next topic, that is ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, which was set up in year 1911, and the headquarters of this is located in New Delhi. This is funded by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. ICMR is the apex body in India for the formulation, coordination and promotion of biomedical research. The mandate of this ICMR is to conduct and coordinate and implement medical research for the benefit of society. In the making of the Covaxin, which was one of the major vaccine that were widely used in India, the ICMR has one of the important roles. Then the other mandate of this ICMR is to translate medical innovation into the product and the processes, and introducing them into the public health system, so that all the issues related to the public health systems, all the issues related to the disease prevalence can be tackled properly. Now next particular topic is the POCSO Act. The Protection of Child from Sexual Offences Act 2012. This was an act that was mainly legislated after the unfortunate Nirvaya incident. This particular act was enacted to provide a robust legal framework for the protection of children from offences of sexual assault, sexual harassment and pornography, while safeguarding the interest of child at every stage of judicial process. Some of the major features of the POCSO is that child means not only girl child, means this particular act is gender neutral. It is not only providing safety to the girl child, but male child or any other child which is not only the girl. Then the scope of sexual offences has also been widened. It is not only related to the rape. There are the molestation charges or the sexual harassment charges. All other jurisdiction have been widened, which was earlier not been covered under the various sections of the IPC. Then this particular POCSO also provides for the child friendly procedures after the investigation commences, means the medicals that will be done in a proper and comfortable manner that will be provided to that particular child. So all the investigation, medical related processes, judicial processes will be done in that way that that child doesn't get harassed further. That child is not traumatized further, that child feels safe and secure. Then our next topic is SIDB, which stands for the Small Industries Development Bank of India. It was set up in year 1990 through an act of the parliament. That means it is a statutory body, and it was incorporated initially as a wholly owned subsidiary of Industrial Development Bank of India. So this particular SIDB is an independent financial institution which is aimed to aid the growth and development of micro, small and medium scale enterprises in India. Some of the major objectives of the SIDB are that it will help in financing the small scale industry. It generally provide the refinance facilities. Then it will also help in promoting these small scale industry so that they can reach the economy of scale, they can have their business expansion, they can have their business growth and development. Then they also leads to development of these small scale industries and the institutions that are providing hand-holding to the institutions related to these small scale industries. Then they also coordinate various other institutions which are providing help to these small scale industries. So this was all from my side. Thank you very much for joining this session. All the very best.